Hey everyone, Brian here from Vintage Classic Specialist. Happy Monday everyone. It is time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So busy weekend here with the Barndoor, of course. If you saw the videos over the weekend, you know we successfully took the bus to a couple shows, put about 100 miles on it, mostly on the freeway. Car got a lot of really nice compliments and stuff. People intrigued by this motor with this very rare intake system on it, and loving the brakes and all the other little details. So yeah, super fun to take it out and let people look at it and enjoy it. And of course the owner and his family had a great time. So actually, let me start off talking about this bus a little bit. So Rafa did actually work on this bus a little bit today. So we did have a problem with one of the knobs on the dash. So this one on this side, which is the headlights. The knob had actually or the mechanism down in there that the knob is attached to kind of came apart. The knob had sort of popped up and was not functional anymore. So Rafa today painstakingly dropped the pod down below, and you gotta take the panel off and stuff like that. It's actually a huge job, guys, to do this. So unlike later cars where the switches are all, you know, essentially like separate pieces that you can remove, on the early cars, the sort of, I don't know, I guess body, for lack of a better word, of the switches is kind of like molded into this plate here, this pod. So a bit more finicky to work on, and they're kind of all soldered together. And you know, again, it's not like a later Beetle or bus where you can just take the switch out and toss it and put in a new one or another good used one. So very tedious work. But anyway, so he pulled that apart. And he actually redid the switch on the other side too, which controls the wipers and the dome light. So both of them should be fail-proof now. And so yeah, he did that. The other thing he worked on a bit on it was, if you recall, on the episode from Saturday, after Octo, I said that I had seen some oil in the engine compartment. So today, Rafa cleaned the engine compartment very thoroughly so we could tell if there was any oil coming from anywhere. And then he went and drove it around and, you know, kind of stomped on it pretty hard and tried to drive it in a way that if something was going to leak, it would. And I think he only saw like a tiny bit of oil over here somewhere and maybe a tiny bit over here somewhere. So really not much at all, guys. So pretty happy with that. And so yeah, he kind of worked on that today too. So yeah, we're probably gonna just put some more miles on this bus, just in general. So it's gonna go back in probably a month back to Hawaii, and so we want to just log some more miles on it. We may address those leaks. Again, they're just kind of almost like a little sweating at those fittings, but you know, obviously we'd rather not have any. So we'll see, guys. But yeah, other than that, this thing is pretty much just wanting to drive it a little bit more. And but yeah, so let's see what I worked on today. So I did start the morning out with this guy, this poor neglected looking Baja Bug here, that we're gonna try and at minimum make it roadworthy and safe for the owners. So I did start out with the wiring on here. So check the battery first, and it was very dead. It had, I think, like literally 1.5 volts in it, which obviously, well, this is a 12 volt car, so of course it should have, you know, in excess of 12 volts. And so popped open the hood and started looking at the wiring. Actually, first thing I noticed, let me back up a little. I wasn't sure what year this car was. I was thinking it was like maybe a 64. It's got later indicators and stuff on it, but then I noticed the fuse box up here, so I thought, okay, this car is a little earlier than I thought. So I checked the VIN number on it. This car is a September, I think it was a September 59, which makes it a 1960 model year. Anyway, so yeah, the first thing that I noticed when I started looking, well, there's a lot of things I noticed when I started looking at the wiring. One of which, though, was that the way they had the radio wired, which sounded very familiar because we just had a double cab in here with kind of the same issue on its amplifier, at least, was they had it wired in where the stereo was always hot, you know. So again, the way these are supposed to be wired is there's a constant hot wire, so a wire that gets 12 volts all the time, and then a second one that's only hot when the key is turned on, and that's what tells the radio, hey, wake up, go ahead, use power, power up the amplifier, etc. So the power draw when the key is off should be very, very minimal. Basically, at that point, you're just kind of keeping, the memory in the radio, whatever you've programmed in there, stuff like that. And then when you turn the key on, that's what wakes it up, and at that point, it's in a state where it's gonna, draw a little bit of power. But anyway, so yeah, the radio, both wires on it, again, constant 12 volts and key on 12 volts, were both wired to constant 12 volts on the fuse box. And so, yeah, this thing just sucked the battery dry. Again, it was down to like literally 1.5 volts. I had the battery on the charger for a good part of the day, and it didn't come up quite as high as I would have thought. It might have a dead or a bad cell, so I will probably go ahead and take the battery to auto parts store and let them charge it and do a more proper test on it. But yeah, I did disconnect that wire for starters. And then I put a battery in it that was already charged, one of our shop batteries that we keep around, and tried to start it actually, and turned on the key. The one idiot light that's hooked up came on, so that was kind of good. But then I turned the key and nothing happened. And so I started checking the voltage in here, and there was 12 volts coming into, so the way a lot of these, especially older Volkswagens, are wired is that the 12 volts from the back of the car comes to the front of the car to the headlight switch, and then from the headlight switch it actually jumpers over to the fuse box. And so we had the full 12 volts at the wiper switch, but then by the time it was making it over to the fuse box, it was down to like 5 or 6 volts. So pretty much at that point, I removed all of the, disconnected all the spade connections there, and basically just started wire brushing things and got them to where I got a full 12 volts here at the fuse box. I pulled all the fuses, I wire brushed those, I wire brushed all the contacts that the fuses make here on both sides. And so yeah, we got good power here, and I was actually able to get the motor to turn over after I cleaned up all these connections here. And so just for the fun of it, it wouldn't start, so just for the fun of it, I pulled the air cleaners and manually primed the carburetor, squirted some gas down them, and it fired up pretty much right away. And then so the car was pulled forward here before, so I started seeing gas pretty much pouring out of the driver's side carburetor, so quickly shut it off. And I think it was coming from the hose, where the hose goes onto the carburetor. So I don't know how old this hose is, but pretty old and crispy. So what I recommended to the owner is that I do basically a fuel system rebuild. So pull the carbs, throw out all the existing hoses, because again, they're old and crispy. Put on all new fuel hose, put on a new fuel filter. I'm going to go through the carburetors. I looked inside of the gas tank, and it's actually super clean inside, so I was happy to see that. So I'll replace the piece of hose underneath here that connects the gas tank to the tunnel, and then I'll replace any hose that's from the tunnel all the way to the carburetors and back, rebuild the carburetors, and then I think the fuel system will be good then. I did make some progress, as I mentioned, on the wiring, but I'll probably also go and start checking to see if, like lights and stuff work. I have no idea if this car even has a horn. It does have a horn. Who knows if it works or not? I would guess not, but we'll see. And yeah, see if I can get most of the electrical to work and take care of stuff like this, where there's just random wires that may or may not be hot, that aren't, capped or anything. There's some in the back of the car too. Try and make it less likely to have short circuits. Take care of some stuff like this. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. And then the other thing is, I did push on the brake pedal. It doesn't go to the floor. It stops, I don't know, maybe that far from the floor, but it feels very spongy. And so I also recommended to the owner that we'll just go through the whole brake system, pretty much replace all the, wheel cylinders, master cylinder, stuff like that, hoses, rebuild the whole brake system, because that's, of course, safety first on that. And yeah, so hopefully with those things, we'll get it running, driving, and reliable. He did also, though, mention something's going on with his front end, and he thinks it may have a bent wheel. But I was looking at the car earlier, guys, and I think there might be something else going on here. I don't know if this is going to show in the video, but this wheel has quite a bit of camber, which it should have zero camber, or even on a stock link pin front beam, which this appears to be, it should even tilt out a little bit at the top. It should even have a slight bit of positive camber, which is how these were kind of dialed in from the factory. But this looks a little negative. And this side too, look at that, guys. I think you can see that on the video. So I don't know what's going on in the front end here, if things are bent or if the shims on the link pins are just really bad, which would cause the front end to bind really bad. I don't know what's going on here, guys. So while I'm doing the brakes on the front, I need to kind of poke and prod at the front end here and see what's going on, because this camber on the front is kind of weirding me out. There shouldn't be any practical reason that would be there, short of bent parts or very poorly assembled link pin carriers. So I don't know, guys. I think there's going to be some things like that with this car that probably kind of pop up too as we start going through it. But at least for now, a little bit more work on the wiring, go through the whole fuel system, go through the brakes, and then it should be getting pretty roadworthy at that point. And then once we do those things and address those and kind of see where we're at as far as the bill is concerned, then he may have us do some interior work. I think I pointed out this headliner, maybe wire up these lights, which are, you know, essentially just cosmetic at this point. Same with those. So we'll see, guys. Anyway, should be a fun project, and the family is very excited about getting this thing back on the road and being able to drive it. And again, I mentioned the other day, it's been in the family for a super long time, and yeah, so they're very excited about their little car. So we want to do our best to make it reliable and safe for them so they can start enjoying it. All right, so why don't we head in and see what else I worked on today. So this came in just now. This is the rebuilt transmission for the now Java Green 67 Beetle. Just came in, compliments of our transmission builder. Stock rebuild here, nothing fancy. Anyway, so got back on this guy for a little while today, and check this out. Yeah, so went ahead and finished putting the rear suspension together, both sides. So both spring plates are on now, both trailing arms are on now, and everything's tightened down. And then I went ahead and put on the caliper mounts and the bearing retainers and all that good stuff, and then the rotors and then the calipers. So they're not plumbed in yet. They're just, everything's mounted and tight and all that. Well, the axle nuts aren't tight, but everything else is tight. And so, yeah, next step is probably to go ahead and start plumbing these in. Likewise, the front ones that I did last week, nothing's plumbed in there, but yeah, I'll probably start chipping away at the brake plumbing next on this. But yeah, went together. Looks super nice here. Matching, of course, the front ones. Yeah, beautiful, right? With the slotted and drilled rotors, very nice. And thankfully he wanted to go black, because red, which is what most people use, would have looked terrible on a bright orange car. So yes, black was the right choice. Silver would have looked okay too, but black I think actually is the best choice for this car. So yeah, I went ahead and put those on too. And let's see. Only other small thing that happened today is Rafa installed the Safari antenna for this bus. So we buy these from our friends at Wolfgang International, and as you can see, they have a very specific jog in them to clear the Safari window. So this bus, again, when it came in, one of the things it came in for was Safari windows. So it had a non-Safari antenna which runs straight up and would be right exactly in the way of the window. So Safari antenna from Wolfgang International and Safari kit. So these are the guys that we prefer there. Safari window kits, Wolfgang International. Fit really nice. All the hardware, super nice, guys. Just really great kits. We did install one kit that a customer provided that was from England, and I don't remember the manufacturer. we weren't impressed, guys. So if you're looking to upgrade your bus to Safari windows, we recommend at least the Wolfgang International ones. Super nice, great guys over there to work with as well. So very friendly and full of knowledge and all that good stuff. So guys, I believe that is it for today. So thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.